Autif, thank you very much for being here today. You lead the Green Building Program Southeast Asia for IFC. Can you tell us a little bit more about the program, how it works, and also touch on the EDGE certificate, please?
Sure. Thanks, Gustavo. And thanks to GRI Club. The Green Building Program came out of the realization that we at the World Bank are a development agency and we need to focus on the major development challenges. And one of the major challenges to not just the building sector, but to the entire economies is climate change. And the building sector is hugely responsible for the greenhouse gas emissions that cause climate change, but also it provides one of the most cost efficient ways of reducing climate change. So that's why we came up with an approach about 10, 15 years ago to work in this sector, not just from the investment side, but also provide advisory support wherever needed. And in some cases, policy support. So working with the government agencies, influencing the policies to make it easier for builders, for investors, for buyers and building owners to go for green buildings. And lastly, we have also worked a little bit on building up the capacity and the understanding of the financial sector. So we work with banks, we have introduced training programs, we work with architects, engineers. Again, we've introduced training programs there across numerous universities, colleges. So we're trying to address it from all fronts: investment, advisory, policy, and capacity.
And what about this EDGE certificate? Is a certificate that is necessary for a developer to raise capital? What's the how does that work?
So EDGE certification is IFC or the World Bank Group's green building certification. And over the last few years, almost all our investments are going into green properties.
Right.
So we needed a standard that was initially for our own investments, where we would have some level of comfort that wherever we are investing, these are properties that would not cause harm to the environment. They would be comfortable, they would be efficient, they would have good return on investment. But gradually it became so popular, so attractive that now we've opened it to rest of the market. We've introduced it to every single country in the world. And in fact, it is the largest growing green certification. And the way it works is simply that you assess the building. We have a software where you assess the building's expected performance, try to meet a minimum standard of energy, water, and embodied carbon in the construction materials. And if you're meeting that standard, then you get a certificate which is aligned with all major climate finance standards. So even if you don't end up getting investment from IFC, it can help you access finance from other investors.
Understood. And if a developer is looking for investment support from IFC, how would that work in practical terms?
So we have a strong investment team backed by a strong advisory team. So we've often start our conversations on the advisory side. So we could sit down with the developer, understand what they're building, what their portfolio ambitions are. Now, as you know, there are a lot of companies that have set decarbonization targets. Governments have set it, but also the companies have set goals for net zero energy or net zero carbon by a specific year. How do they go about it? How do they meet those standards is something that many are struggling with. So we have a strong technical team and experience from around the world that we bring to the table with the developer. We say these are some of the ways you can get to your targets, plus become more attractive to climate finance. So we take up some demonstration projects, evaluate them with them. We're not like a consultant, but we are more like an advisor, you can say, to developers in the beginning. And once they understand it, we try to build up their capacity. And if they need investment from our side, then we introduce them to our investment teams. Or sometimes they don't need the investment from us. They are already getting invested by somebody else. Mm-hmm. But this becomes a better investment for those investors as well.
Could you share some examples, some recent examples of transactions or some cases that IFC has been involved?
Sure. I'll just mention two very, very recent examples just within the last 1 month. One is one of the largest real estate investment trusts, REITs in India, called Mindspace. We've just invested with them through a sustainability linked bond. The idea of sustainability linked bond is that you're not just investing in this being a green design property, but also in the operations. So the way it functions is that we figured out where the current portfolio, these are mostly office buildings, large number of office buildings. We have set targets on what the efficiency of these building assets would be. And we've set certain intermediate targets for the future. And if they meet those targets or their terms, or they exceed the targets, the terms of the finance could become better. And conversely, it could become a little still slightly more stringent if they're not meeting the target. So it's an incentive for them to continue improving the operations of the building. This is the first time we've done it in India. We've done it outside. And I think this is the way to go. We're seeing more interest from companies like that. The other example is with Tata Realty. We had a couple of years ago worked with them on an advisory capacity on one of their larger business parks, IT parks. This is in Chennai, Ramanujan IT Park, Intellian IT Park. We helped them achieve a zero carbon standard. And this became the world's largest zero carbon certified office building. Huge complex, and they're meeting the on a net basis, they're not emitting any carbon emissions.
Wow.
So now they needed refinance, and our team has gone with them and invested in that money as well to continue that zero carbon operation.
Very interesting. Autif, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.